welcome to Maggie's World, a place where you find, shine, and share the light within. My name is Maggie Ramirez, and I am really happy to introduce my guest for today. His name is Miguel Martinez Santivanez. He is one of my soul brothers. I love him to pieces, which you will hear me call him hermanito, which means brother in Spanish, because that's what he is to me. And I'm just so excited to share him. He's part of my world and share him with your world because he is this phenomenal doctor, therapist, clinical therapist who has changed the world. Because if you change one person's world, you have changed the world. And he has with thousands of people or millions, good knows, but he not only does he train therapists to use this technology that he has created, but also he does his own therapies as well with personal clients. I've learned so much from him in this past years that I've known him, and I use a lot of the technology that he uses in my therapies and in my trainings as well. So without further ado, Miguelito, thank you so much, hermanito, for being here in Maggie's World. Thank you for taking the time and having this conversation with me.
Thank you very much, Hermanita. This is just a beautiful moment for me. Um, Thank you for the opportunity for this interview and for what we're going to develop tonight. Actually, it's tonight, yes. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to share, or I want you to share with the viewers, what is SIAB? You know, the technology that you have put together in your therapies. And this is what you do teach other therapists, clinical therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. You know, you've traveled a lot internationally teaching this technology. You've transformed, from towns to, going into the political world and working with politicians and supporting them. I mean, you've done so much. You've gone into schools. I mean, there's so much that I can go on and on and on about all that you do. But let's talk about SIAP. Like, how was that created? You know, why did you feel it was important for you to just make sure that you brought this into existence, that you not only use it yourself but also create these trainings and these courses to teach others to be able to use this? I think that's phenomenal.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting situation was because I was doing therapies when I began, like maybe 18 years ago. And I was my beginning days, my first years, I began to observe what I was doing while I was doing the therapist. And I begin to observe that my clients begin to tell me things and kind of giving more information about what they were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I pay attention to that. And it was kind of interesting because I did it for 1 year and a half or two, just observing and giving more information while I was doing therapies.
Mm-hmm.
So when I noticed I have like in my hands a new technology to help them to reduce two things, two aspects in a situation. The one, number one, is the time
Mm-hmm.
frame that we're suffering. Let's see, fear, anger, anxiety. They show me the way to reduce the feelings of those negative emotions less than a minute. That was one step. The other that they
Mm.
show me was they show me how to reduce the intensity of the suffering. So two things,
Right.
and it was so amazing. So I was amazed about and I begin to apply this new technology to my new clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I traveled to Peru, because I'm Peruvian, a long time I went traveling, and I was facing a group of psychologists. And that day, they asked me to perform because one of them was suffering from anxiety. I mean, terrible anxiety. So I applied this new technology, and they saw me said, "Can you teach us?" In that moment, I thought, "Oh my God, I need to put together to teach." So
Right.
that was the beginning. That was the beginning, no? And from that
And
moment to today,
right. And that's so selfless of you, so that you actually said, there's something here that I get to teach others so that they get to go and also use this in their own practices, because that's what you really do. You teach therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists a new form that they can currently implement in their current work of line. And
mhm,
so that's, and not only that though, but I know you also have taught this to teachers, and they use it at schools like counselors, correct?
right?
And
Yes,
that has made a huge difference. And I know that there's many other places that you've been able to share this knowledge with, and I think that that's phenomenal. Simply because a lot of people would, when you come across something so phenomenal like the SIAB technology that you have downloaded and created and put together, and made it available for all of us, is that some would have just kept it for themselves, and wanting themselves to just be the ones that use this type of technology, and for you to be so selfless and wanting to share this and used it. That's one of the reasons why I met you, because
right, right.
that you were doing these courses, and one of my students that have had taken my trainings, she kept calling me and saying, you need to meet this guy, and you need to meet this guy. And I was like, okay, sure, but nothing came about. But she just kept calling me and wanting me to meet you, because just phenomenal how what you do. And I'm so glad that she was so persistent, because it took a while for us to actually come together eventually.
Yes,
And
I
not
remember that.
only did that did I meet you, but that we became so close, like, you know in that same day we talked for hours, and I remember I was, what, like 8 months pregnant with my daughter,
Yes.
and we still like talked all night because we had
So,
so much to talk about. And to the day we sit down and we talk, and we can talk for hours on end, because there's just so much to talk about. And so, just to let everyone know that this is definitely not going to be the last time that Miguelito is going to be here with us in Maggie's World, simply because we have so many different topics to talk about. I think the one thing that it's important to get started in having people introduced to what this SIAB technology is really truly understanding how to understand where everything stems from, like at a cellular level, through the cellular memories. And so, can you talk a little bit about that?
sure, this is very interesting. Very, very. I've been invited to many venues in different universities, for instance, psychologist groups and stuff. And I explain. I explain. This is just an interesting topic. And in a situation, let's see, if someone is suffering for, this is the best way to I can explain. If
Mm,
someone is suffering for anxiety, for instance, we normally say, reasoning. Try to talk to them and try to change it by reasoning, using the
yeah.
reason. Say, don't worry about it. Everything is gonna be fine.
Right.
You know, but it doesn't work that way
Mm-mm.
because that feeling is projecting and manifesting through the, the physical body.
Physical being, yeah.
And the cells are creating, generating this kind of chemical reactions.
Hmm.
That's the reason we suffer.
Yeah.
So it's someone in that we cell memory. It's a memory in the human body. But that feeling is the result of so many times they felt it and they repeated the
Mm-hmm.
same emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only the brain that is playing a role here, but it's mostly the physical body. So when I notice that, if we change that, if we can change the chemical reaction of that moment, feeling the anxiety, then the people change. They
Mm-hmm.
begin to change completely and
Mm-hmm.
they stop suffering. So I was amazed when I saw that. And we work in the physical body first. We don't work in the mind later. First the physical body. In the physical
Right.
body we change that first, and then the mind will interpret different way. Well, you
Mm,
know more than this, right? You've seen this process many
of
times,
course.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Uh, how important it is to recognize. I think that's what we're saying. It's like recognizing that uh, everything is at a cellular memory, right? And through this memory that we have, we attach these emotions. And these emotions are felt, because of that chemical reaction, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's produced within our body. We are feeling it in a different part of our body when there is something there that needs to be cleared up. And then, unless it's cleared up, it will continue to affect us and affect the way we see things, the way we see life, the way we see a situation, and then calling it a problem. It becomes a problem because we can't heal it
Right.
and we can't find a solution. So it is a problem until you find a solution. I think one of the biggest things that we need to also clarify, hermanito, is that because you have this therapy session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say with Miguel,
Right.
he will guide you, right? He's just the the therapist that will guide you to find that within yourself. Is what is the situation? What is the reason why you're here? Why are you having this therapy
Mm-hmm.
session with me, right? Where are we what's the reason? Where in your body do you feel it? And at that point, there is that opportunity. There is that choice in replacing at a cellular memory, at a cellular level, that which you are feeling, that which is affecting you, that which is paralyzing you and freezing you to move forward in life. You have the choice for you to replace that with something that will support you to move forward, something positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
think one of the things that I just wanted to make sure that people understand is that through these therapy sessions, the therapist does not replace a memory or cellular memory with a choice that we have our own choice to replace whatever we want, because I think that some people fear that because they don't understand it. And that's really what fear is. You fear the unknown, you fear what you don't understand. So I wanted to be clear that these therapy sessions, you have the opportunity to replace that which does not support you with something that will, so that you can
Right.
move forward and be productive. That's the
Right.
reason why we're not productive in life, because there is all of this emotional traumas or issues or problems that we're not healing, we're not getting over, we're not dealing with, that are affecting us, that are paralyzing us. So can you talk a little bit about that, the importance of understanding that we're not the ones that are replacing at a cellular level any memories or anything like that?
Yes, that's very important because actually we know that because every single person experience in his own way
Mm,
anxiety, fear. any negative situation, they experience in completely different way. We are so unique and different from each other that we have a different structure, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we as a therapist, we cannot interpret whatever we want. No, we just guide them
Yes.
because we don't know even when they reach the balance state, when they get rid of the negative situation and they learn how to reduce less than a minute to the point
Right.
that they don't feel it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they establish that balance, then they will replace for the opposite. And we asked them, and they said they choose which one, like you said, it's not
Right.
us, not they do it. That's the
Right.
beauty, because they are their own architecture of their own. I don't know how to call it, but you explain more than better than me. That's beauty. That's beauty because they empower them so much because they do
I
it.
love how you said that. You really are. This technology that you have put together allows you to be the architect of your own emotional state,
Yes.
right? That's amazing. And I think that what's even more amazing is that you make this available for people, not just therapists. For myself, I think it's such a blessing to know that I am capable of utilizing this technology on a day to day basis. When I check in, in my trainings, I'm always talking about, always having my nervous system, you know, balanced, as mostly as I can. And this supports that. This supports being able to keep my nervous system intact, simply because that really is like my guide. It's is where I know, where I tap in. And when I start feeling that my nervous system is being affected, I automatically look into that and gauge it back into like this neutral place, because I don't like having my nervous system being affected, because I already know that if I allow that to keep going there, then it's just going to, whatever the issue is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger unless I deal with it. And so when I start recognizing that my nervous system is being affected, then I go to that and see what it is. What is the issue? What is my interpretation of that issue? And how can I deal with it through this technology that you've put
Hmm.
together? How can I drain that out of me? How can I get that out of me? How can I once that is drained, once that it's taken out, how can I then replace it? Right? How can I replace that? And I know I'm speaking in terminology that other people may not understand,
Yeah.
but eventually they will, once that they are able to take your therapies or take your courses or trainings or go online and find a little bit more about you on, you have all the information on here, his website and his social media pages. They follow him, and if you feel that this is something that you'd really like to experience, then make sure you reach out to him and set up a therapy session where he can support you with this, because it's just phenomenal. Let's talk about how, at a cellular memory, I mean, this is something that we have within ourselves, but it's not only something, these memories, it's not only what we've learned in this lifetime, right?
Hmm.
But it goes generations past.
Oh yes.
They say it's traced at least 7 generations past, but it's actually more than that. Let's talk about that. At a cellular memory, it's not something that you're only dealing with that memory that you have of this lifetime, but from generations past. You
Right.
see how we keep repeating cycles from our parents, our grandparents, and so on and so forth. And maybe not you, but it could be one of your siblings, right? That your brother or your sister, you can see how they are repeating cycles from generations past.
Right.
And that has a lot to do with what we're talking about, which is at a cellular memory, and at a cellular level, how is this passed down from one generation to another, that our behaviors, our state of mind, our um, our interpretation
Hmm.
of situations and things have a lot to do with that as well. And so when you start looking at that and and saying, well, I am behaving like my great grandfather or great grandmother or my dad, right? Like, oh my god, how many people say, oh my, I've become my mom, I've become my dad. And so with those situations where you feel like, you know what, I choose to step into that greater version of myself, and I really would like to heal this part that I'm seeing that I'm starting to repeat from generations past. Recognizing that, because that is not only healing within this lifetime, but you also will be healing generations
Oh
past.
yes,
How,
that's
and how important
interesting.
that is.
We know now that when we just born, we don't only get from our parents the our ancestors, the color of eyes, the color of skin, the features, the all the physical things. We we get from them tendencies, emotional states. For instance, I have a question for you when you listen. When you are not working, when you're not doing, when you just finish working and you go into your house, when you are alone, how do you feel? What is your emotional state? Are
Mm-hmm.
you preoccupied? Are you happy? You worry? That
Mm-hmm.
state, I'm very sure your ancestors have pretty much the same. When
Mm-hmm.
because when you're busy, you're doing stuff. You're getting out of that state, right? Well,
Right.
sometimes you worry, but when you're alone, this moment you're alone, how do you feel?
Yeah.
That is your state. And that
Mm-hmm.
state determines every single aspect in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
that's very, very important to know
Mm-hmm.
how I feel when I'm alone. When you're driving back home, when you go, what do you do? How do you feel?
Right.
Right? That's your state, normal state,
Mm.
you know?
Right.
So we
And
know now
recognizing, right, that.
it's important, it's so important for us to understand that the state of mind and emotional state is crucial. It's more important than anything. Because if you have a lot of knowledge, you went to university and you have your masters, you have your doctors, but based on how do you feel, you will perform and you will get results. If you're not in balance, you will not make it. You know, it's
Right.
so important for us to develop this, to manage in a way that we can actually do whatever we want to do and achieve we want to achieve. Otherwise, we'll not make it. Right?
Right. And the information of how is it that we have, you know, how we have learned everything is our interpretation, right? So we know that this is a hand, right? We know this is a finger because it was taught. We were taught. We learned it, right? And then it becomes that cellular memory. But then we attach to cellular memory these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that there is an emotion attached to information, that is when it begins to hold us back, when there's the trauma, when it is an emotion that is affecting us, that becomes now a physical ailment, right? And let's talk about that. Let's talk about how a lot of people end up being sick, where they have cancer, these type of things. But it really had to do with that. Like, it stemmed from that emotional that emotion that was attached at a cellular level and
Yes.
how that created that illness.
And it's activating by themselves. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
we have to understand the language of the cells are chemical reactions
Yes.
that we know and we feel it as emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So behind an emotion is a chemical reaction. That's what
Yes.
it is. We know now that when we experience negative emotions, we actually, our cells are creating acids, really bad
Mm-hmm.
ones. You know, imagine a person who is really mad and develop ulcers, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
That means the chemical reaction is so powerful that it making a holes in our
Mm.
intestine. So
Yeah.
that's the reason the we know that 80% of the illnesses is based of emotional states. Wow, that's so important to know.
Mm-hmm.
But we know now too that in front of a negative emotions we cannot control it. Reasoning, we cannot the control. It's different way because when you experience an emotion, and when you said, you know, when we experience these really powerful emotions, really strong emotions, is 10,000 stronger than the power of the mind.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do really.
Yeah.
That's why
Because it's that chemical reaction like you're talking about.
it's a chemical reaction. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
It's like
done.
that.
We're done. That's it. We have to do something, like you said, in the cellular level to change
Right.
something. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
way. There's no other
Mm-hmm.
way. Thinking is not possible. We cannot,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
And
like,
that's why, when people think it's like, oh, affirmations, let's just do affirmations. That's great and all, and it works, at a superficial level, but an affirmation is not going to replace, a cellular memory. It's
right,
just not. It's not going to get to that level. So it's important to have this information, to learn this information. Like, why hasn't this information been taught to us, in school, since we were children? Because that would have, in humanity, we would just be a whole different type of race to have had this knowledge and this true understanding as to how we can really have more control of our emotions, which also has to do with our thoughts and how
right,
we feel and how we interpret information that is coming in. But yet we don't, where it is not
right,
taught to us in school. Our parents don't teach us this, and so we go through life based on our social conditionings, and then we allow our emotions to control us. And at that point, it is whether we control our emotions or we allow our emotions to control us. And 99% of the time, we're allowing our emotions to trigger our reaction.
right.
We're not being actionary, we're being more in the
In,
reaction mode.
you know that 95% or more than that, the types of thoughts that we create today are pretty much the same like yesterday. Same like before, the day before. We
Right.
repeat it. And we know now that grand, I mean, the most of the thoughts we thinking are based on chemical reactions in our body. The cells are sending information, how we feel.
Right.
We tend to think about how we feel.
Right.
So that's what you said. It's not easy to change something thinking or
Right.
positive affirmation. No, it's a different ways, right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's another topic that we'll definitely have you come back for, to talk about that, to talk about how we are living in the past, you know, because everything that we think of is something that has been learned, that
Right,
we learned from the past. And so we're simply reacting in our life on our day to day based on our references, based on our memory of the past. So we're just
right.
reliving the past,
Yes,
reliving these emotions, reliving these thoughts which is our interpretation of something. And the moment that we're in the question, that we start questioning why it is that we feel the way we feel, why is it that we're thinking the thoughts that we're thinking, and do they make sense now based on who we say we are, or based on the person that we choose to step into, which is a greater version of ourselves. When we truly take that on, when we truly are in that question, that transforms everything, because
Right.
now we start questioning these memories. Where do they come from? Why do I feel that way? Why do I think that? That's not really me. That's social
Right.
conditioning. And
Right.
so, does that serve me now? Based on who I say
Yes.
I am, based on who I say that I choose to step into, that greater version of myself, does that hold truth now? And if it doesn't, then what am I going to do about it?
Right.
What am I going to do to replace that?
Right.
I think that is just an amazing topic to talk about for the next
Yes.
conversation.
Yes. Exactly. But the thing is, what we can do about it. And
Right.
one of the things is we discover, not discover, we're going to discover anything, but they show me a way to change that. And it's changing in the physical body first, going
Hmm.
exactly where the cells are creating this chemical reaction. When we go there and we change the behavior of the cells, and we teach the cells to change for a different chemical reaction, meaning different
Mm,
emotion, then the mind begins to be in calm
mm,
state.
yes.
It's not vice versa, you know? It's
Nope.
so powerful, so interesting. That's the technology. We actually that technology to hermanita.
Yes. Yeah, and it is so great to know that it exists. There's still so much that you and I get to do together on this planet. Um, to let's mention one of the things that you and I are working on. We're working on putting together and merging both of our technologies
Yeah.
and creating amazing trainings for people that know me and know him, and just imagine what we're going to be able to create together, um, coming from like the spiritual aspect of things and through also the clinical and scientific part of what you bring to the table. I think it's just phenomenal to be able to support many people to truly take more of that control of their lives, and take the steering wheel, and
That's so beautiful.
not just allow themselves to just allow life to pass by, and not feeling that they actually had any kind of say or control or a decision, you know,
Mhm.
and but
It's so
know that
many
they do
things,
have that
right?
opportunity.
Yes, so many things. And like you said in the beginning of this interview, we used to spend so many hours talking and talking, talking about these important things. So it's beautiful that now we are able to do it in front of the camera, right?
Right, to
It's so
have this
amazing.
technology support us.
Right. This is the first one, actually. We will have more interviews
Yes.
because there's so many knowledge, so many
Topics.
knowledge topics to show the people. Right.
Yes,
This is
there
so
is.
important. Very, very nice, Hermanita.
Yeah, but good thing that like the more we talk, the more that we find even more topics to come back with and to
Yeah.
share with our community, and to be able to support them. If it's only by for them just watching this conversation, or for them to know that you are there, to support them. All they need to do is reach out to you and schedule an appointment, so you can have their own personal therapy session with you. I think that's phenomenal. Now that I've introduced you to my community,
Oh,
they have a way to reach out to you. I hope you do if you're watching this, and it has there's a tug in you that's he's pulling you in, and saying, hey, I definitely want to get together with Miguel and have him do an amazing therapy session where I can go in there with this issue that I currently have, that I just haven't been able to like get over and heal, and I can feel that it's affecting me and it doesn't allow me to move forward. I'm glad that they know that you exist on this planet, that you have amazing technology that you've put together through all these downloads and all these therapy sessions that took you, quite some time, a few years to just
Yeah,
develop and put everything together and make sense out of it,
makes sense. Yeah,
so that so that it can make sense to us as well, for us of the therapists that have taken your work, and that we're not only doing this, but we also get to do so much more. Like I mentioned, Miguelito and I, we have so many other projects at hand, things that we're doing together that we'll be bringing out within the coming days, the coming
days,
months, the coming
months. Yeah,
years.
yes, many,
Yes.
many projects, beautiful projects.
Yeah.
I'm
So
really
thank
glad.
you, Miguelito. I just wanted to
Thank
thank
you.
you for being here in Maggie's World today. And like I said, it's not the last time, but thank you so much for sharing yourself, sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, and the beautiful work that you do. And if you're out there and you're seeing this and you'd like to reach him, you know how to do it. It's on the screen. He's got your website and your social media. So thank you, Miguelito. Thank you, hermanito, for being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you to you, Maggie. Big hat for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And don't forget, everyone watching, to shine the light within.